This morning, it has already been explained very well how the tyranny of money and a technocratic paradigm increased poverty and inequalities in the world and threatened the community of humanity and fraternity to which the Beatitudes and the messages of Pope Francis summon us. The more poverty and waste increase, the bigger the breeding ground for human trafficking and the labor and sexual slavery of hundreds of millions of poor people, children, and migrants. Human trafficking continues to be the third most profitable crime in the world, along with arms and drug trafficking, and it is a great lever for mafia capital accumulation. Human trafficking is inextricably linked to money laundering. All the money deriving from the cruelest exploitation enters the global financial markets through tax havens and banks. In order to launder money, you don't even need as many papers as are requested from migrants desperately fleeing poverty. The global financial system feeds, multiplies, and interacts with money obtained from organized crime, which makes it more insensitive and adds a mafia component to it. Appealing to organized crime for their mercy and understanding to give up a small part of their earnings for the poor is a sterile task. Then the new world order of humanity and fraternity will not come from the understanding and the mercy of the super rich, but from the joint action of humanity, pressing and forcing a paradigm shift from the bottom up. As Pope Francis points out in Fratelli Tutti, reason may be capable of accepting equality and civic coexistence, but not of creating fraternity. Those who can contribute to this fraternity are the religions that emphasize the common good and integral human development, recognize equal rights and dignity, and are based on the values of good, charity, and peace. A common agenda is urgently needed, agreed upon by the world's religious leaders, including the organization of World Days of Prayer and planetary mobilization in order to convince public opinion in favor of the super rich giving up 6% of their profits for the sake of beginning to solve the problems of poverty. Without this systematic mobilization and without this constant and planetary pressure, there is no chance of change. In many cases, politics is unfortunately dominated by the financial system, and in the best cases, it only makes declarations of good intentions from time to time that fail to structurally change the situation. Interreligious mobilization is the only thing that can endow politics with a critical world mass sufficient to create conditions to carry out the necessary changes in the reordering of the world. Meanwhile, in the fight against human trafficking, it is essential for states to put in practice three basic criteria. Restore the rights of the victims to prevent them from being re-victimized. In fact, Gustavo has an organization, he's the head of a committee that does just that now in Argentina. This means in practice, access to decent employment, housing, health, and education. 2, investigate the root of the traffickers' money to dismantle their operations, confiscate their assets, and use them for the reparation of the victims. And 3, act in community and in an organized manner against organized crime to be effective in detecting and combating it. The fight against hunger and the fight against trafficking and slavery are 2 crucial elements to begin to build a society based on fraternity. Of course, politicians, mediators, and peacemakers, to be effective and credible, must not only be on the right side, they must not only be upholding the right issues, but must work for a cultural change, starting with themselves, showing poverty of spirit, leading by example, taking sides with the marginalized like Good Samaritans, through closeness and listening to the peripheries. Their cause must be fair, and those who lead it must be able to rise to the occasion.
Thank you.